Hello, hello. We'll just use this one. Well, that was mildly traumatic. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Andy Clark.
And I'm Heather Begarnie.
And it's so good to have you all here to talk about the Lowport Centre. You might have seen us talking about it on the high street, saying we want to talk to you about the Lowport Centre. You might have heard about it online, and now that moment's finally come, so we can get off your back to do so. So welcome. You're going to hear some things tonight, and this meeting isn't to get lost in the detail of. This has been me and Heather's obsession with work for the last 7 months, and we have done the detail, we have done the work, but tonight is about story. So we're not going to focus on figures tonight, although we have done the sums, but we're going to focus on the story behind what it all means. About 100 metres away, there is a mural that was made by James Cummins, and it's called Community, a Festival Through Time. And the mural stands on the wall, and it shows every different person, every different type of person, together in the community of Linlithgow. And it shows how it's met the challenges that have come across this great town over time, and how we can rise once again to do it. So, although we will hear different things about phases, and we could bore you with non-invasive structural surveys, which we have done of the Lowport Centre, tonight's not about that. And if you have a question about that, ask it. We also as well, we have now got a fundraiser on board. This is Stephen. Stephen looks like a fundraiser. He does. He's, I know, honestly. He lives in Uphall, but he looks like he lives in a mansion or something. So Heather's going to give us an overview of what's happening tonight.
Okay, so this is what we're doing. We're quickly doing a wee tour of the Lowport Centre. I'm going to briefly explain what a community asset transfer is, and we're going to just talk about the journey that's got us here. This is St John's Church's journey, but it's not just exclusively St John's Church. We've been looking for a home, and we want to tell you that story. Lowport Centre Charity has been set up, and we'll explain that to you. And then, as Andy's just said, the work's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be bit by bit, phase by phase. And a something for something model, we'll tell you about that. Q and C, so questions, comments. We're not promising answers, but we'll certainly take questions away and get back to you tonight. And then closing, at that point, there'll be tea and coffee, and we would love to chat informally with anybody that wants to chat more with us about specifics. Okay, so here we go. Welcome to the Lowport Centre. Come in the front door and up the stairs past the mural, and at the top of the stairs is this huge sports hall, games hall. I'm not to talk about what we're doing with it, I'm just giving you the guided tour. Sorry, I'm getting too excited. It's a problem I have. And opposite that is this room, which is a good-sized kind of meeting room. And next to that is another smaller meeting room. And downstairs, this lovely dining room, which backs onto an area which could be used as a kind of patio space once we deal with the weeds. Also attached to the building, at the High Street end of the building, are 3 floors of accommodation, 15 rooms, which are mostly en suite. They need a bit of updating, but the pipework and stuff is all there for bedrooms to be reused. And this end of the building, the Lochside end of the building, has lots of smaller rooms. It's where the changing rooms are. And at the very bottom end, there's this meeting room, office, with beyond it, through the partition wooden wall at the back of that picture, is a similar sized room that could be used for meetings or become a space for a business or organisation to be based in. Okay, so we are in the process of a community asset transfer. Basically, we were looking for somewhere that we could use as a building. And Tom Conn, one of our lovely local councillors who's here with us this evening, said to us that he was aware that the Lowport Centre was no longer being used by the council. The council had deemed it surplus to council requirements, and so they were looking for somebody to use that. It was going to go onto the market, but we could bid not to pay for that building, but for that building to be transferred, the ownership transferred to us. There are legal things about that. It's a government policy about community asset transfers, which helps organisations to work with the council at a reasonable speed, apparently. It does take a long time. That's some of it's us, and some of it's just the process of all this kind of thing. But it does keep things moving. There's deadlines on the process, and it means that we are hoping to have a lease, first of all, of the building, a try before you buy period, and then in about 2 years' time, we expect that if things are working out as we hope and as we plan, that asset will transfer over. Now, St John's Church wasn't an eligible organisation to take on the asset because of the way the legislation has been set up. It has to be a member-led community body, and so that's why we've set up another SCIO, a charity called Lowport Centre, to run the Lowport Centre, but St John's will be an anchor tenant in there.
So a little bit of the background with who is St John's. St John's is a evangelical church that's in the community. It's been here for a long time. It used to meet just where the LYPP was before it got flattened and actually became the LYPP and the doctor surgery. It's been here in the community. We're motivated by the love of Jesus, and we do youth work, we do kids work, we do all sorts of different things in our local community. And we are desperate to find a home. We have looked at Linlithgow Academy, and we were there for 15 years, and there's been people who have been desperately trying to find a place, a permanent home, for a long, long time. And when COVID happened, we were no longer able to use the academy, and we thought that was the right time to begin to look for another place. So we met online because you couldn't meet anywhere else, and then we had services with about 4 people and their dog at Union Road, just up at the back of Cabs Wynd. And then we started to meet here. So about 18 months ago, this is where we have our services. And we look out every Sunday on the Lowport Centre. And as Heather talked about, it became clear that this was a disused space and that we wanted it to make it our home. But we knew that it wasn't just going to be our home if it was to work, that actually St John's was really going to have to be serious about working in the community that it was in if it was to make it possible. So me and Heather, over many months, over many Zoom calls, began scheming and dreaming about what this thing could be. And I'm really proud to present what we have tonight, which is, Heather's already alluded to it, but it used to be called the Lowport Centre, and today we present to you the Lowport Centre. And actually, it's our very first birthday today, because we just found out from Oscar today that we are now a charity. So we've got a charity number, which is amazing. Thank you. It was all Heather. So there's a partnership and an opportunity to do that between the two parts. Now, what is this Lowport Centre going to be all about? Is it going to be a church with a moustache on? No, it's not. The Lowport Centre is made purely to benefit the well-being of the people who live in EH49 and the surrounding postcodes. It's to help them meet their own needs and their own aspirations. And we believe that as a church, if we work in partnership with the people, that's what it's all about. It is not to say you need to do this or you need to do that, but we have some values as well. The building will have values. It will have a code of conduct. It will have a way of being. So let me briefly explain what that is. So we have St John's Church. St John's Church has these values. It says it's about Jesus, it's about nurturing one another, it's about bringing the kingdom. And the Lowport Centre New Scale will be about hope. It'll be about nurturing one another. It'll be about community building. Can you see how there's shared values between the two things there? And then also, we have a shared vision. We need a home for St John's, and we want to have a 24/7 presence to serve Linlithgow. And moreover than that, the Lowport Skio, it has needs and aspirations. It has a vision. It wants a community space for those who live in EH49 and the neighbouring postcodes. And it wants to help the communities of Linlithgow meet their own needs and aspirations. And we're skewed towards well-being. So if you fit that criteria, if you say, yeah, we want to provide a bit of hope in our community, yeah, we want to nurture one another, yeah, we want to build the community that we're in and around, then you're welcome, more than welcome, to use the Lowport Centre. Now you might say again, is this a church thing with a mustache on? Is it secretly a hegemonic design that actually controls the thing from the interior thing with shadowy figures? No, it is not. St John's will have a nominal 100-year lease of the Lowport Centre, i.e. so we can't get kicked out. 2, St John's is able to nominate one person on the board, but only up to 50%. So St John's can't have control of the board to have a sort of John Balliol, Edward I sort scenario. And thirdly, St John's members who live in EH49 and the surrounding postcodes are expected to become members of that scheme. So if we want to be involved in the building that we're in, then we've got to become members just like everyone else. I don't know if you know the history of the Lowport Centre and the history behind that. Well, in Lithgow, back in the day, it had different entry points. It had 4 main entry points. One was at the Westport, and one was here at the Lowport. It was the easiest place to get into. It was a gateway to the town. And hundreds of years later, it has the opportunity to be a gateway once again to meet the needs and aspirations of those who live in EH49 and the neighbouring postcodes. It's a gateway again for people to live out their dreams with their different types of clubs, with judos, with community space, with making it home for whatever business you have. The Lowport Centre is a gateway to allow you to do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the phases. So St John's Church is really serious about this project. St John's Church currently, as of today, has raised, we had a giving week that finished last week. Now we're a little bit delayed at St John's Church. We're always start 5 minutes late. We started 5 minutes late tonight, and our giving week ended, and then most of the money comes in at the end of the giving week. So last week we had a giving week, and we raised £66,000 to renovate the heart of the building. And subsequently, we think we're on target to make the 125 criteria, which is to fully refurbish that middle part of the building, the heart of the building, to get it open and ready for people to use, for hourly renters to use, for people to come and put their clubs in, for people to come and put their businesses in that are hourly. It's possible to do that. We're on track to do that. So St John's is allowing the doors to be reopened. Heather, do you want to say anything more about that? Because I realise I've talked through your slide.
It's all right. That's fine, Andy. Yeah, I think the middle bit of the building is the bit that a lot of us will be familiar with the main hall and the dining room, and that space is going to be used by St John's on Sundays and at other points during the week for the activities that we currently run out of the wee shop front we have on 183 High Street and up at Union Road as well. But as Andy said, we don't have use for it all the time, and there will be opportunities for that space to be used by other groups, and we look forward to getting that heartbeat back into that building.
Now the second phase of the project, once we've got the hourly renters in, once we've got the church in, the second phase is about reopening that brilliant asset, which is the accommodation wing in Linlithgow. The motto of the town is St Michael is kind to strangers. And what better opportunity do we have to be kind to the people who are coming into our town than to open this as a community hotel where groups, where tourists, where lots of different people can come into the town to make sure that they have life here and experience the brilliant town that we all have. But also so they can live out, again, their own needs and aspirations. It might be that you're part of Walking Football and you want to have a Walking Football festival in your town. Well, there's 30 beds to do that. It might be that you've got a conference that you want to run. Well, you've got the facilities to do that. This is an asset that can clearly be used by the town. And also, the first part, the business plan does work on the first part. We have a man in a suit to say it does. However, the long-term security, financial security of the Lowport Centre is in getting that accommodation wing running again. It allows us flexibility. It allows us to pay for staff to run it. It allows there to be life. It allows the things that the refurbishment work that needs to happen in the building. It gives rocket fuel to that. It's amazing. Now, we also, as part of the project, we've had a quantity surveyor involved, and they've looked at it, they've been round, and they think it's £146,000 to renovate that. Now, we've began to start the process of getting some funding bids from that, but also as well, I think that's the part that the community should be on the hook for, because that is the part which is the greatest asset to this town. St John's Church has already raised and is on track to raise £125,000. We have nearly raised £300,000 for the Aspire project. I think this town deserves and owes it to itself to be kind to strangers. And thirdly, the third phase of the project, we want businesses and local charities to come into that big Lowport Centre and to make it their home. There's lots of different spaces. This is a disused outdoor community education centre. It has bike maintenance workshops. It has old drying rooms. It has lots of shelving. There's lots of flexibility. Now, this is the third phase of our project, but for anyone who knows anything to do with project management, it doesn't often go the way that you want it to go. So I will say this: we are open, even in the first phase of the project, that is at the end of this year and into the start of next year, of making cheeky deals with people for different rooms. Now, what we've got is refurbishment leases that we'll be able to give to people, which will give somebody a rental holiday for, say, 3 months. This will allow somebody to move in from very soon after the Lowport Centre opening, and it'll allow lots of different people to refurbish it the way that they would like it to be used, rather than us refurbishing it. And then it also means that you get to call it home sooner. See, the more people that are inside this building, the more viable it gets. Every time a new business or a new charity or a new group moves in, the whole thing gets more viable. So we are open to cheeky deals. If you walk away from this night and hear nothing else, we are open to a cheeky deal. And also, there's storage space that's there in the building too. So even if it weren't interested in renovating a room, there is plenty of storage space, a room that you could hire. Stephen, our finance guy, assures us it's the best value for money storage space in the vicinity. So please do keep that in mind. There is storage space, and there is also these refurbishing leases. One thing, just to say before we do get into our Q and C section, and we want to allow lots of time for people to ask questions formally, and we also want to just make space at the end of the night, because presentations are presentations, but really it's about us connecting with one another. The Lowport Centre just before it closed, there was some groups in there who either paid nothing to use the property, and they could be in it for up to 4 days a week, or a nominal amount of money to use it. This model does not work. If there's anything to be said of what is happening with the closing down or the threatening closures of community spaces like St Michael's Hospital, like the Howden Park Centre, like Bubbles, there is something to be said of you cannot get something for nothing, or very close to that. We have to operate from day one on a something for something model. The church is all in to do this. Me and Heather eat, sweat, drink, breathe the Lowport Centre. We want this to happen, but also we can't give it away for free. This costs something, and it costs something because we want the community around us to value it too. So from the beginning, I just want to say that this is a something for something model.
Yeah, and just out the back of that, I think we want to do it well as well. We don't just want to kind of go in and make do in the building. We want to do it to a high spec and make sure that that building is fit for purpose for a long time as well. So again, that's why we don't want to be cutting corners and doing things on the cheap as well. We're not going to be putting gold taps in, but it's finding that right balance of making that a really lovely space for people to be in and to make it feel like home for everybody that comes through the door. I don't know if we've said at any point, because we're so close to this, there's bits that we know that we forget. We're expecting that we'll be able to start a lease from the 1st of September. I don't know if we said that clearly at the beginning, but no. So there you go. That'll be the first question. When are you going to get the keys? So there you go. So I was just halfway through your chat thinking, I'm not sure we said that. So that's what we're aiming for. That's what the council's aiming for. There's various bits of refurb that the council have promised out the back of the surveys that have been done on the building. There were some things that were highlighted that need to be done, and they can't give us a lease unless they give us an electrical certificate, a gas safety certificate, and various other documents like that. So all those things have to be signed off as compliant and safe, and the leak in the roof has to be dealt with as well. So we are not moving in until we get all those things, and the council is assuring us that they will do their bit to do all that before we move in as well. So that may slightly hold it up, or it may be that we get the keys on the 1st of September and we're kind of working concurrently with some council trades folks while we also get in and start refurbing. But we're really hoping that we can be in maybe November, December time for that middle section of the building, if all goes well and if the money comes in as we hope it will. So that's what we're doing. And that's what the council are doing, which is really good. We've had amazing support from the council actually, and we have funding from the council. We have £76,200. I can't. These numbers are getting bigger, and I can't hold them all in my head. But the council has given us a grant of £76,200 to employ our project manager and our fundraiser for the next couple of years. And to have staff in place is the game changer in something like this, as you would understand. So that we've had huge support from the council. So there's been a lot of work. We're really grateful to the congregation of St John's Church for what they've done to back it so far as well. But we're now really, this is the start of kind of saying to the community, this is actually happening now. We didn't want to start taking people's money or making commitments that we couldn't fulfill if this business plan wasn't robust. And we've had to go and really look at all that stuff before we're at this stage now to say, yeah, we think it's possible, and we'd like you to join in with what we're up to, and we need you to join in because it ain't going to work otherwise. So we have this leaflet here, which has got 2 QR codes. There's one of them that's got this hourly rental information. If you click on that, it opens up, and in among that there is another link to a really superbly produced document that has got all the information you need about, and it's got pictures and all sorts about the facility and about what you could book. So if you're thinking at the moment, I'd be really interested on a Tuesday night of having one of those small rooms for the meeting that I have, then the information is in there. And there's ways that you can then sign up for things or ask for more information through that one. On the other side of that document is some information about how we can all contribute financially to that and get involved individually. So fundraising is obviously going to be a big thing. There's grant funding that we can go after, but we've had a lot of individuals wanting to donate to this, and we're going to be taking part in the kilt walk as well. There's 2 people on the team so far, but there's 3 now. Oh, I didn't check this afternoon. 3 people already. Let's see how many more we can get walking the kilt walk in Edinburgh on the 17th of September. There's different lengths of walk for that, so you can join in and as you feel that you can push yourself up to 21 miles or something like that. And we need community people to join and become members. So if you live in EH49 postcode or any of the adjoining postcodes round about, you're eligible to be a full member. If you don't live there, it's okay. You can be an associate member. And we're having junior members as well. We'd love this to be a kind of all-age facility, so teenagers can be part of it as junior members as well. So all that information is through those QR codes, and the Facebook page as well that many of you see as well. That's Lowport Centre. It's quite easy. We've not got lots of names. Hopefully we've kept it easy for you to find us, and you can message through that as well if you'd like to get in touch about anything else, because you'll get home later and there'll be that question that comes later. So please keep in touch and ask those things.
Just one thing to say about the booking before is that once you scan the QR code, you can go to the document, and then you can actually book your slot from there. Now, there's nobody yet who has signed up. This stuff is literally hot off the press from JMK today. So nobody has signed up. So if you have an idea of wanting to use it between Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., get in there, because these slots will go. And we want to maximize as much space for as many people to use it. So please keep that in mind, that if you're thinking about it and you're on the fence about it, it's only £100 deposit, and the £100 deposit goes towards your first usage of the building. So we're not taking it away and going on holiday with it. We are investing that in the Lowport Centre. So we have now come to the time for question and comments. So one thing to say before we do that is we're going to have Andy here, lovely man. He's going to be roaming about on the mic. They will hear your voice. They will not see your face on the live stream, okay? So, one saying that, and also as well, one more thing. This is a council bashing free zone. Unfortunately, some people might say we would not be here if it wasn't for the generosity of West Lothian Council giving us the opportunity with £76,000, a subsequent further 50k worth of electrical work, and a lot of time and energy, and our building for £1. So, if you want to hate West Lothian Council, there's another meeting happening somewhere for you, but it's not here tonight. So, yes.
Amazingly well. Well done, getting all the finances together, doing all the paperwork. Really exciting project. Just three short questions. One, what's happening Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Secondly, 15 rooms potentially. How many occupants per room might there be? And thirdly, what did you mean by a 24/7 presence for the church?
Okay, so let's take them again. Now I'm dyslexic, so can anyone remember what the first question was? What was the... Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thank you. So, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, we've got a period from November to about March where we're just trying to maximize the amount of people that do that. Once those renters come in, and once we maximize that space, then we open it to being open every day of the week. Now, there's a thing, I don't know if you heard of it, the cost of living crisis. So we're trying to ensure that as we gradually step up with this, that we're met with the demand. So we could go out from day one and say it's all open all the time, but we want to make sure that people are booking into the spaces and then growing it from there. So the trajectory is very much to open it like that. So, and also as well, there may be the option as well on Sunday afternoons as well, because St. John's Church is in and around from 12 o'clock until probably about 2 o'clock. There'll be stuff happening, and maybe stuff happening at night, but Sunday afternoons is another option where people could rent out. What was the second question?
What's the occupancy in each room, the 15 rooms?
Go on, Stephen. Right, Stephen in the suit, come on.
Just to add to your first question about the Monday to Thursday, why not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, part of that is staffing costs. So we want to make sure that we're running with as few staff as possible rather than putting a lot of money out there and then we're in financial difficulty from day one. So that was the Monday to Thursday. And it's really for the first 6 months of the first year of the 2-year lease. The occupancy, there are 15 rooms. 13 rooms are a double occupancy with ensuite, and 2 of the rooms are a bunk bed arrangement of 4 people in each room with access to a shower room. So total occupancy is 34. So I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers, and I love working with sums. So the occupancy rate this is for the town of Linlithgow, 74% is the average occupancy rate for accommodation in Scotland. So we can expect, if we were to achieve the average occupancy rate of Scotland in the accommodation block in Lowport Centre, we would have 9,000 visitors in a year if they were all coming just for one night. The good news about that for the town is that the average spend of a tourist or a visitor staying in accommodation in Scotland is £90. That was prior to COVID. So the average spend in the town including accommodation at Lowport, the average spend in the town annually would be about £810,000. That's a big boost to the economy of Linlithgow. So Lowport Centre will not be running breakfasts as part of the accommodation, but we will team up with local businesses. Here are all the cafes that you can go and get the best breakfast you've ever had. And we would encourage them to engage with all the tourism, all the great spots to go and see. 17% of people that come to Scotland to visit Scotland come because of Outlander. Did you know that? Outlander, the TV series and the books. So we've got some Outlander places that are all within travelling distance of where we're at. So why not celebrate it? Why not flaunt it and get people in, which we're planning to do. We're planning to do a lot of flaunting to get people into Lithgow and to make this building a success. There was a third question, wasn't there?
Yeah, so I would say with that, I think it probably comes out of desperation in the fact that we've been homeless, in the sense that we've been the setup that we have right now is very similar to what we have on a Sunday morning. There's a lot of set up and tear down. So on one part, it's to have a presence where we don't need to put it all away. So in the main hall, part of the £125,000 that we're raising is for a small stage, a 6x3 metre stage. It will have projection facilities in there, have an audio-visual room, so that we don't have to set up and tear down things. It's also as well, it's about being known, I think, as a church. So people would associate, they would know St Michael's RC and St Peter's, but maybe don't know St John's as well. I've worked here for the last 9 years, and you could probably say, oh, I work at St John's, and they go, I don't know who that is. So it's probably that too. It's about visibility as well. And then also as well, I think great things can happen when lots of different people groups come together in proximity to one another. So I think I believe that the church is good news for a community, and I think it can really help. So I think in that regard, that's what the 24/7 presence is about. Anyone else?
Hi, Glenn Cormack, resident of Linlithgow, former pastor of St John's. Do you have support of the other churches in the town? How are they responding to this?
Yes. So after a long email exchange, we have a draft communication with St Michael's Church. So St Michael's are positive about it as well, and we're in good relationship. All the local ministers are in good relationship with one another. What that communication said was that there is so much need within the local community, and not just in that, because of local spaces closing down round about, that if St Michael's pursued further the cross house project, we think there's more than enough demand to meet that, and that was expressed in the communication that's just to come out as well. So they're not only supportive, we want to say that we want to work with one another, because we realise that we're doing similar things, but there's also clear differences as well.
That's great.
Hi, Sue Vizard from Linlithgow Players. Very excited. You mentioned stage. Could you kind of say it again? I wasn't concentrating.
I'll let Heather say it.
Yeah, there will be a stage. There will be a sound system. There will be lights. There will not be wings, and there will not. It would be more for some of the smaller productions. Not a huge pantomime, not big casts, but at the moment that's a games hall. The demand, the stuff that we've heard is that an auditorium space is really what's needed. Very selfishly, because it's our project, St John's Church has decided we kind of want an auditorium for a Sunday morning, but also we have been listening, because there's choices to be made about keeping it as a really wide multi-use space, but putting in a sound system seems to be something that would be very beneficial, not just for us, for you and other groups as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And the other question was, so I've had a look at the website and the charges. We're very excited in terms of coming back and using rehearsal spaces. open till 9 o'clock. I'm assuming that's under the initial basis because of staffing, or is that planning to be the permanent end time? Not a biggie, just curious. And date for opening, are you saying November?
Yes, so we are working towards a November 1st opening date, and then also with the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. At the moment, that would probably stay because we can use a lot of our existing staff at St John's and then put on a couple of additional staff to kind of support that further. But also, there's a lot of things with this project that is humbling because there's things we just haven't thought of. At every stage, we have to think of more things. So we'll definitely take that on board. And if there is a demand to do that, if people come forward and say, I really need this space till 10 o'clock, we can be flexible in that as well. I wouldn't want to put in down a hard no to that. But certainly in that initial phase, what's manageable is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Thursday. We'll go to you in a minute.
Hello. Linlithgow Arts Guild. Do you by any chance have the measurements of the main hall or the main rooms that I could have a note of, and also the height as well would be very helpful.
So we have we have it wide, so it's roughly 16 by 19 meters, and I don't know off the top of my head how tall it is, but in the brochure, which is on the link, there is the dimensions of all the hourly rental spaces. So I could round them off, but yes. The main hall is 5.4 meters tall. Thank you.
Okay, Neil MacDonald from Twinning and Folk Festival. I think there's a need. I'm interested in the things you're saying about lets, and I had never envisaged the idea of businesses being in the place. These would obviously need to be balanced up against each other. If every bit of accommodation was taken up by businesses which are bringing in nice, steady, regular income, would you be in danger of not having accommodation for community groups or enough accommodation?
Yeah, so I think we always with this process we followed the demand, so and just see where that's went. So we have had a real mixture of charities and businesses coming to speak to us, and certainly the main. We want this to be community space, but we don't want it to be, create barriers to that. So as well, I would say that from day one there is a real blend of that as well, and also all charities and all businesses would have to kind of pass the well-being check with our values of are you about hope, are you about nurturing people, or about building community. And if somebody's in there, we have had businesses that have got nothing to do with community building, but also would have very steady income. And we've had to make the decision first of we need to figure out who we are, and then when we figure out who we are, that informs what you do. And with that, as enticing it is to take in a company that say does like laundry, that's great, but it doesn't build community, to my understanding. So that would be the case that it has to pass through that lens. That's what I would say.
And a quick mention that the idea of using the outdoor education for storage is interesting, because at one time we were paying £70 a month to have lock-up in Grangemouth because we couldn't find anywhere locally for all the equipment we need to keep, and that's a nice idea.
Anyone else? Oh.
Can I ask what we can do to help you? Because it's all about what you've done so far, but what do you need? What specific things that you need? Is that on your website?
So specific things, that's a really good one. So one thing that we haven't included tonight is we wanted to keep it really simple to what we were asking, but if you want to go, I want to roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty or whatever, there is a jobs board out there. I'll make sure to share the link on our Facebook page tomorrow. And what that'll do is it has a list of all these different things you can be involved in. So some of it's practical, like painting walls. Some of it's like weeding. Some of it's more churchy things. Whatever the case may be, you've got an opportunity to get involved. So there's a practical edge to that. But probably to reiterate, to go back to that stuff, when we're really talking about what you can do, it's about use the space, use the space, use the space. Fundraise with us. Let's have an absolute rammy together. There's 3 of us going. Let's take 2 minibuses from the Lithgow. Let's have a great day. Let's make new connections with people. You get a t-shirt. It'll be great. And then also you get to tell a good story about as you walk, you reopen the Lowport accommodation wing. And then also as well, the best thing is people becoming active members, really invested in that building, because it's heartbreaking time and time again to take people around and all the stories were, this was a great place, or I loved it when I took my kids here. I want to have stories where people continue to use it.
And I think that's up till the point we open the door. Once we open the door as well, and once we're operating, one way of keeping our staffing costs down is to have lots of volunteers in that building, the kind of meeting and greeting, and maybe some of the kind of cleaning and some of the routine things, having some people around to regularly volunteer with us. We expect that will happen anyway, because there's people who maybe are unable to work, and we would love to provide space for people to have meaningful things to do. But anybody can come and be part of that kind of thing as well, and we expect that that's the sort of thing that people will be around and about doing things in the building.
Over here, yep.
Thank you for that last comment, Heather. That's a good one, for people to come and do things. As I'm sure you know, you certainly do. I've part of the being created shed, men's shed, but not a men's shed, community shed in Linlithgow. And the idea of that certainly would cross the T's and dot the I's in terms of community activity and support. And it is pretty important that it gives people a chance to come and do things. Perhaps when they've retired, they've got nothing else immediately to, otherwise they sit home and read the newspaper all the day. What a boring activity. But to get people involved, and that's the shed. The trouble with the shed is it wouldn't just want to rent space, it would want to use the space. It would want to have things that it left in the space. And it doesn't have any money to start with. So that business, that opportunity is there. It's how it's perhaps used. It's certainly an opportunity, I think, both for the shed itself, which is currently is part of the Development Trust, and yourselves, if there's an opportunity to bring the two together, to bring people in who can and will do things. Simple at the moment, but you never quite know what's going to expand into. If people look at the cycle circuit, the cycles that are on display in the Vennel bed in town, they're propped up because one of the guys from the shed was asked, and he's done it. He's put them up there. So there's cross links between all sorts of things.
And that's exactly what we're expecting. That's a really good way of putting it. Thank you so much, Chris, because I think understanding that once you get groups in, stuff happens. The space between groups gets filled, and you've got people around who have those conversations because we're in the same space. And I'm really excited. I kind of would love to get a wee glimpse of what it's going to be in 5 years, 10 years time, once we're seeing the dream becoming reality and seeing what comes kind of organically in the space. We can curate so much of it, but once you get people in, community-minded people in, who really want the best for our community and want the best for individuals in our community, and have got that mindset of kind of reaching out and including people and bringing in people who perhaps are, like you said, on their own, lonely. Where's the space for people to come and really be part of something? And that's a lot of our dream, a place of welcome, a place of home, a place of belonging in that. So there was something that I was going to say specifically. You say your thing and I'll think about it.
Thanks. I've been put off by that. I can't exactly remember what I was going to say. It's completely gone. Can you remember what you were going to say? Okay, let's move on and see if it comes back.
There's something about our values as well, and what we start off with to get this project up and running. So storage space, I think, is probably going to be quite a short-term thing, that we'll be offering storage space until we have better ideas and better offers from the community of, actually, I can come and use that space and bring people into that space rather than just furniture storage or whatever. So, do you know, there's things that will develop with time. And also, I think there's opportunities for joint fundraising. Some of the groups that are coming in at the moment don't have a lot of funding. And Stephen, maybe that's best for you to say about that, because that's more your bag.
Yeah, with lots of different groups coming in to use the Lowport Centre. The Lowport Centre in itself is a charity as of today, and can apply for grant funding. However, in today's ask, the pressure on grant pots has intensified through COVID and then the cost of living crisis. Statistics show that there's 4 times more pressure on those pots than prior to COVID. Now, the Lowport Centre, working together in partnership with some of the organisations come in, helps the Lowport to access other pots of funding. So, for example, the New Well, who are a core partner of the Lowport Centre and who are focused on mental well-being and wellness, there are specific grant funding agencies that would like to give grants towards improving mental health, improving wellness, and therefore a joint funding application to say the New Well will be using these couple of spaces and these spaces need refurbished, so the Lowport Centre will get some of the money as part of that project, as would the New Well for using that space. And it'd be the same for any of the other organisations that are coming in, whether it's Folk Festival or the players. There can be potentially joint funding applications which would help each of the organisations. So it's not all about the church or about the building. It's about all of us working together for the benefit of the people and the organisations of Linlithgow, and we're all in this together, and therefore we would be open to doing joint funding applications. And I'm happy to talk with any of the groups who are interested in using the space to see how we could work together to achieve mutual benefit, because it's all about the community. So I think that hopefully answers that question.
I think one more thing to say on that is that because the Lowport Centre is relatively hands-off in its charitable aims, that we're about community space and about helping people meet their needs and aspirations with a skew to well-being, that Heather is the head of trustees and she just gets to be the chief excitement officer. So we get to do that with all the different people that do the building, use the building too. So your stories are our stories. When you come into the building and use it, that when you guys have a win, or that when we do joint funding applications, that's to be celebrated, because that's the larger work of the Lowport Centre, and that's community really working together and being kind to one another. Any other questions? Now I'm going to give a 10-minute warning for questions. 10 minutes, because you don't want to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So on you go.
Thank you very much, Jonathan Malloy. I suppose primarily here with my Linlithgow Reed Band hat on, but I just wanted to maybe come back to a point that was made before. To me, storage space and public space are very much part of the same thing, and I just wanted, because, for example, if the Reed Band were using the main space, which would be the size of space we would need, then we would need to wheel out a drum kit, 3 kettle drums, 60 music stands. Now we've got the manpower we don't need someone to do that for us, but we need somewhere to be able to back at the end of our session. So it's that co-location of communal space and space for storage that is absolutely critical, and it must be the same for play groups and other things as well. You know, everyone's carrying their kit as well, and we need to find a solution to that, and then I think could work really, really well.
I've never been in a building with so many cupboards and nooks and crannies, and there's bits under stairs that that need to probably be blocked off because they're not ideal, they're not very safe. So there's when I said about the storage, I'm thinking there are rooms at the moment that we're thinking that we could just use for the time being as storage rather than having them empty. But storage for groups that are using it is a completely different thing. I'm sorry if I confused the issue there. Yeah.
We also have a lift as well to take things up and down. A good lift, we've been told. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, sorry. Can we go to Glenn and then we'll come back? Sorry.
No.
That is Glenn.
Hello again. It's Glenn Miller here, Singing Without Age Scotland, Linlithgow. We're looking to get access to the peel. Do you have the key to the gate? And
Nearly, yes. And the plan would be to open that as well when the building was open as well.
Because that'd be good for us. We're community-based, obviously, but for us to get access to the east side of the town, we need to go through the peel. We don't want to go on the high street with the trishaws, so going through the peel would be great. The second question is the kitchen staying open?
So, the kitchen is going to be, so let's call this, so it's now cafe space / meeting room 3. So we had people who had came forward to say, yes, we want to open a cafe, and then they backed out. And also there is a lot of cafes currently open in Linlithgow. So what we're doing is we're making the meeting space 3 / the cafe space. That's going to be available for rental for people to do stuff. It could be pop-ups. It's going to get used by the church on Sundays, all that kind of stuff. And then also it's rentable as well, so that you can use a smaller charge to use the small kitchen, which is to the right, which is closer to the accommodation block, and then to use the larger kitchen, there's a bigger subcharge to use that. So if somebody comes forward and wants to use a cafe, open a cafe, we are all ears. But from day one, we don't have the resource to open a cafe space. However, that doesn't, we've got a coffee machine, and the coffee machine will be in the small kitchen. It doesn't mean that we won't serve hot drinks. It doesn't mean that we don't want to create an environment where it's homely, and where people can meet, because I know, Glenn, you'd spoken about it once you've taken people round the loch to get them coming back into the building. Okay. I think that sort of facility would still be there, but an active running cafe, nobody's came forward. If somebody wants to open a cafe, let's do a cheeky deal.
No, we're working with the Scottish.
Oh, well, we found them.
We're working with the Scottish Government just now to, when we take the elderly out of the care homes, to give them more exercise, because they're in the machine, they're just taken round, which is good for the mental well-being, obviously. But for more physical activity, we're looking somewhere to stop, take them out, have conversations, and then put them back in and take them back to the care homes. So they were looking for a venue like that. We're using the Borough Halls just now, by the way, but it's quite tight for space. But ideal if we bring the minibuses here and drop them off, pick them up, and it'd be absolutely ideal.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, and to the man in front.
Just the practical one, but how can we have a walk round the building?
What's that, sorry?
How can we have a walk around the building to actually see it before we make any commitments?
Yes, great. So we've taken, over the last 18 months, we've taken round, well, hopefully everyone who's asked in that time, we might have missed a few people, we've taken round over 50 groups. Everyone who comes in really loves the space. That can be, if we have a conversation at the end, we can do a sort of ad hoc thing. At the moment, it's still in the possession of the council, so like we have to get the Janny from the Keys from halfway down the high street to come up and meet with us, and it's a couple of day turnaround, so we need a bit of turnaround to do it. But also, we've taken around large groups before, so also if there's a couple of people, we might line up one Monday afternoon or whenever's convenient to take people around. But certainly 100%, I think probably the way that it would go is it might be a bit cold and harsh to sign up on a link to book a slot. Probably what happened, we start a relationship here, we go around, see the low port, and then we go out and get a coffee and talk about it, and talk about the practicalities of it. So yeah, 100%. We need to take people around the building, and it's a lot easier from September when we have it. At the moment, it's quite a hard process to get in, just because it's not all just St John's staff who run it. Yes, okay. The 3-minute klaxon has went. Anyone else? I'll maybe take a couple more questions if there is any. Oh, Pamela.
Hello, so it's Pamela. I'm a community councillor, and the community council who are meeting just now I'm passing on their best wishes and their support. I had a chance to have a chat with the chair, Chris, and they're interested in the accommodation, phase 2, and whether there's a business plan available. It's really, I think it's going to be brilliant for the town. It would be great to see more of that to help with whoever's us all fundraising around what that'd be like. I also had a chance to speak to Fraser, who's the chair of the Community Development Trust, who's also very supportive. They've just opened the cycle circuit, and they know the future of cycle tourism is looking really bright, and are hoping that cyclists that are using the cycle circuit will be able to stay in those accommodations. I had a question. What was it? Members. Is it only individual members, or can it be organisation members as well? Because obviously it'd be good to have a drive for community groups to be members.
We opted just to have individuals, just to be less complicated and keep it simple, but as many members of your organisations that want to sign up are welcome. We don't just have one member of an organisation. It was a bit of a discussion, but we decided just to stick with individuals. But partnerships and these kind of joint funding bids, you guys at Development Trust have so inspired us to know that a 10-year dream can become a reality, and all that money can be raised locally. Well, I know but the hard work happened locally to bring that money into our town, and the potential for tourists coming to do cycling things, and all the ongoing conversations that we've had over the years, I really hope will continue, and we would love to learn from you guys in that. So thank you for inspiring us.
Okay.
Just one more question, giving you the opportunity, please, to tell us a bit more about the individual memberships you had just soon. So contact points for people that don't actively use Facebook, please, and just let us have a bit more information about the membership.
Okay, so we'll give just a bit more information about it, and then if it doesn't answer the question, then we can chat at the end. So when you take on a community asset transfer, a religious body can't do it, so you have to create a tier 2 scale, which is a democratic type thing with your trustees. You can either make it on a group of interest. If we were all avid bird watchers, then we could join together to make the Lowport Centre the mecca for bird watching. But we chose to make it geographic, and the geographic means that if you live in EH49 or the surrounding postcodes, you do it. You need to be over 16, 18, one of the two of them, and then young people can become members as too. They can be from 12 to 15-year-olds, so it's 16 plus. 12 to 15-year-olds can become members, and then 16 plus can become a full member where you can vote and all that kind of stuff. And it's the criteria for membership is, as we go back to it, it's very hands-off. We want the people of EH49 to meet their own needs and aspirations. We want the church to be in about it, but we don't want to control it. If we have any more specific things on... Oh, go on, you go.
Yeah, basically membership is quite light touch. You sign up, very similar to Development Trust. I'm a member of the Development Trust. They send me information. I did go to the AGM this year, which was interesting, but it was very, very light, but it's... I could get more involved, and I could put myself forward as a trustee. That's the same kind of thing that we're thinking here. So some of the members will be voted on as trustees, and we'll have more involvement. And we've got 4 trustees at the moment. So Tom Conn at the back, who kind of got us all into this. It was he who. It's his fault we're here. So Tom has very graciously agreed to be one of our trustees, which is fantastic, and myself, and we've got Stuart McCall, and we've got Gary Anderson. So people who live locally and have got different experience and skills to bring to it. But over time, we can have more trustees joining that group and spread out the experience and the types of people that are on that, give it as wide a representation of our community as possible on the board. But there'll be an AGM once a year that we would expect members to come to, and apart from that, it's however much members want to engage with it, really.
I think I was actually just asking, when are you opening the membership?
Oh, when are we opening the membership? Well, we only found out today that we were, so hopefully in the next, I'm about to go to America on Thursday for 3 weeks, which is what I need it. Probably over the summer you can sign up, but everyone will get the opportunity at the same time. So we'll be giving church people the link at the same time. We'll be inviting the players to join.
And the second question, I'm sorry, was to do with, please don't assume everybody uses Facebook, so other contacts.
Yes.
Looking for a telephone number, but I can't find anything.
Yes, we don't have a telephone number yet, but we need to create things. We've created a lot of things out of nothing, and I think our website is the next one. And then also as well, we've got a lot of people who have signed up for a newsletter type thing, but as we've been building it, we haven't done much with that yet as well. So regular emails and stuff as well. But we appreciate that. Final question. Yeah.
So hi, Sean from CPS Activities. Just wondering, with the climbing wall and the sports facilities, are they all going to be bookable? Is the climbing wall staying?
Okay, I'm gonna break some hearts here. The climbing wall is not going to be staying. So over the last 18 months, as we've taken people around, there's been a few people that have said I might use it from time to time, but there's been nobody that came forward to say, yes, this is expressly wanting to be, I want to use this all the time for my business, I want to rent it all the time. So that was one part of it. Also as well, I must say, if you're trying to have a church service and you've got a climbing wall in the hall, it's profoundly strange. So that will be the main place where St. John's will be. So it's a trade-off of having, at the start, of having that cash injection from St. John's Church, and then also as well, just the practicalities of, we've got a lot of young children at the church as well, who think it would be fantastic to climb up a climbing wall. So it's also as well, it's with the acknowledgement, and it is a sad acknowledgement, that it is no longer an outdoor education centre. It's broader than that. Although it can assume some of those functions, it is not all of those things. And it's reflected in how the building will be used going forward. So that the climbing wall, I would say, that's one that goes in the first part of phase one. That would be pre-September work. Yeah.
We expect that the sailing clubs that are associated with the building will continue, and I would love that they can grow, because they will be able to use the facilities. At the moment, they can't access toilets and changing rooms, and we want to keep that there for people, not all the changing rooms, but some space for changing rooms, so that can continue. And we have, Cycling Without Age want to be in the building, but other cycling interest as well. So bikes and boats, I think, will still remain, and there's fitness classes and things like that are interested, and we've got guys here who do physiotherapy classes, groups for but more of a sort of physio type thing. And so those kind of activities we're expecting seem to be emerging, rather than some of the things that have happened previously, but we can have conversation.
Okay, end of the questions and comments. We made it. If you have a burning question, let's talk about it at the end. Just in closing, I want to remind us of the motto of our great town. Now, before we get to that, where I say our great town, I'm from Livingston. Livingston is a profoundly strange place where somebody says, you're from Livingston, where about? Because Livingston in and of itself isn't good at it. Are you from Knightsbridge? Are you from Elyburn? Are you from Dedridge? Are you from Crazy Hill? Where are you from? And with that, I grew up, and there was no gala days, there was no marches, celebrations. Community was estranged in some sort of way. You met up at the fountain, which no longer exists anymore, and that's where all the great things happened in your life, where you met with pals, and lots of stuff in life happened. None of that existed. When I've came to Linlithgow in the past 9 years, I've been welcomed in. It's became my home. I love it. I've met my best friends here. I've met my partner here. It's been fantastic. I love the merches. Hip hip. It's amazing. All that stuff's fantastic. And I have been a stranger who has been welcomed in. This is not an original story. This is something that has been carved out a long time before any of us are here. And we, the great people of Linlithgow, have an opportunity to do it once again. We need to live up to our name. St. Michael's is kind to strangers. And this project, among all projects, is a great news story after COVID, and it allows us the opportunity to be kind to those who are estranged from us. One last thing. at the end of last year, I had a flake with this project, and I didn't know if it was going to work. It was before all you lovely people really showed up, before we got the investment from the council, and I really wanted to call it off. It was too much for me to do. But Heather Begarnie, of all people, continued to be persistent, and our positivity and our tenacity is the reason that we're here today. So when you think about, and when you go on from here and you think about who saved the Lowport, was it St. John's Church, was it anyone? We would not be here tonight if it was not for the tenacity and positivity of Heather Begarnie. So as we go, can we give a round of applause to Heather, please? That's it. Have another tea and coffee, folks, and let's have a conversation. Thank you.